Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, I keep forgetting, horrible thing to keep forgetting, but that's what happens when you get so many emails and then you don't mark it unread. When you want to go back to something, make sure you mark it unread. This is Alexander. And so Alexander is right now going through a battle with brain cancer. And so I just wanted to ask everybody out there to send your prayers and your healing energies out Alexander's way.
Absolutely. Please do send him your love, your appreciation, anything that you feel is going to help him. And we are going to do a little bit of a tuning here, but it's going to be the weighted fork, so we're not going to hear it, but I think many of you will feel it.
Oh, you guys do sense it. And
There's this one too.
And Cindy has one other. She's going to start first with this one that's not weighted.
Okay, put him in your mind as very, very healthy, very, very vibrant. Your thoughts and how you feel of this child is very important for him. We're going to send him this good energy. And this is followed up by the weighted fork. You're probably not going to hear it, but I'm sure most of you will feel it. Hold that image of him in your mind's eye of him being very healthy and vibrant. For as long as you feel comfortable, hold those positive vibrations for this adorable little guy so he has the strength to get better. Thank you.
Yes, visualize the miracle, and he's restored to perfect health. So we are going to be talking about some information that came through in a semi-trance. And this is expounding on some of the things we've been discussing and trying to put, again, more pieces together for those that are bopping in and out and maybe miss some of the videos. When we look back throughout history, we see that the farther back we go in history, the more curious it gets. And a common theme among the mythology of ancient cultures is a belief in the existence of a golden age. We've talked about this so many times. We've been in the Dark Age, the Kali. Kali means dark. Yuga just means age. And there are parallels to this in other cultures, and actually a very close parallel in the Greek mythology. So in the Golden Age, humans lived uncorrupted, in peace and harmony, experiencing prosperity and societal stability. And while that theme is common, there is much variation in form and detail across the cultures. Some scholars believe that the foundation of this golden age in human prehistory was a matriarchal society. That's one in which women are dominant. Whoa, don't get upset now, guys. Come on. Think about what we have in this world, and just think about in general what the hormones, because the difference is all about hormones, how they affect us mentally, emotionally, and perhaps spiritually as well. We are an unbalanced society. We've been extremely imbalanced. We have been testosterone driven. It's been fight or flight the entire way in the last 5,000 years.
It really has. And just as we work with ourselves day to day, we are very disconnected. We're very confused about the natural essence of things and how they could so easily fall together if we were more tapped into that source energy.
A book I read probably 35 years ago was one that was written from a Wiccan pagan perspective, And it was all about how the system that came into power that we now know, it basically came about because the matriarchal society was just destroyed. It was persecuted and destroyed and replaced by the patriarchal society. And some have even equated it to the Aryan invasions. And then we get into the whole thing with Hitler and everything and the Nordic aliens. It's interesting. And then we see the works of, very enjoyable YouTuber, Robert Seffer, Atlantean Gardens. I mean, he's just fun. He's just fun. And entertaining and yet insightful. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it feels like he believes that was, when we look at this Aryan invasion, where did this Aryan invasion come from? Well, I think what he is getting to is that it was the fall of Atlantis and the people escaping from Atlantis and then spreading mostly into the closest landmass next to them, Europe. And when we look at the Caucasian race, where does the Caucasian race come from? It comes from the Caucasus, right? And so let me pull that up while I hand this to Cindy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things in our history that are placed before us. You know, some things are useful, some things are not so useful. But what we need to do is really start looking into it and reading into it for ourselves. That's the most important thing.
So we see the Caucasus mountain range is basically right at the intersection of Asia and Europe. Stretches between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Boy, the Black Sea is in the news a lot, isn't it? Because that's, basically the whole area we've been talking about with Ukraine. And so when we look at the Caucasus over here, as you see the Caspian Sea to the right, the Black Sea to the left, this is Turkey, Anatolia. Some of the oldest civilizations that we know of are right here. And again, that we know for sure. Now, we have also seen that there has been a tremendous civilization basically in between India and Pakistan, and even, scooting out a little bit more to the east. And it might be a lot bigger than we actually know. I mean, it could actually, in effect, encompass now these countries of Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan, and some of what's now China as well. And this was an area that was inhabited by a lot of matriarchal societies. Again, the farther back we go in time, it seems like there's more matriarchal societies. And again, in the 60s, we just had the rise of feminism. It's all about the turning of the ages, again, going into the age of Aquarius, a new age. And this is all part of escaping the Dark Age in the Kali Yuga, which has been one truly of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and lacking that heart center.
Well, yeah, I mean, just think of it, eye for an eye. You start doing that and everybody's going to be blind.
Exactly. And so it's one in which, women were given a lot more credit and reason and compassion and nurturing were at a much higher degree than they are today. And so this quote-unquote Aryan invasion that took place of this, white race, so to speak, mostly white race, that happened in Europe and in Eurasia over here, perhaps what we have gotten from the guides is it really was leftover Atlantis. Now, Atlantis was a big worldwide civilization again. And we do see today, we still see, there is a society, I'm trying to remember the name. It was a simple word. It's something like said. I have to look it up again. I was going to put it in this video and then decided that was going a little bit too far out on the edge. But there is a tribe in Africa that trace back their heritage over 100,000 years. And they really haven't changed. And there's some tribes in South America, same thing. They haven't changed in tens of thousands of years. They're living the exact way. And so while you had this Atlantean culture with tremendous technology and the ability to go off-world, and people coming and visiting from other worlds regularly, and it was known, this was just a known fact, it was, again, something that would definitely be a sight to behold and kind of perplexing to the modern mind, unless we look at the way the indigenous people that we're talking about in, say, the Australian Aborigines would look at the plains and maybe not even be able to see them because they can't conceive of them, or they might think of them as gods going overhead, but no, it's just people in a plane. And the same thing with that African tribe, or some of these tribes in Brazil and on the Amazon rainforest that were just making contact with modern man. And as Cindy was alluding to, there are tribes there that as soon as they see us, they start shooting. Why? Because they can see our energy, and on the whole, they understand what dominates the culture that is upon this world right now.
Right. Well, they have a serious understanding that they don't want to be infiltrated. They know what happens if the wrong people come in and start making changes. They've followed their ancestors, and they've seen things and been through things, and they know that any interruption of that kind could be their demise. So they fight with everything they have just to keep people like us, away from them. They don't want to be interfered with. They love their connection with that source energy. That's theirs. They don't want it disrupted. And we should allow many more to have that connection if they so choose.
When we look at these ruins and stuff, and we think about we wonder how advanced were they? And again, the dates keep getting pushed back farther, but there is a wall that we come up against, and that wall is that Younger Dryas extinction event. And that's when everything really got pretty much wiped out on Earth. And we could go and look at these different figurines, and some might say, well, it's just a kid. I mean, these faces look humanoid, but they don't look exactly human. They might look like something your kids would do, but we find a lot of interesting looking humanoid figurines out there. And we do see a lot of reptilian type of figurines out there as well. So we're going to be talking about also the Lyrin Wars, the fact that the Lyrin Wars are still ongoing. And so humanity, well, one of the origin places for humanity is over here, Lyra, Vega, very close to Draco and Thuban, at least in that zone. And Betelgeuse. Don't say that 3 times. Beetlejuice, right? We see Earth here. We see the Pleiades. We see Sirius. And I'm going to start playing what we got for you guys.
Okay. So with the Lyrin Wars, they're showing me the energetic pattern of solar systems, people, planets, energies was disrupted. So when this energetic pattern is of perfect harmony with source, and they come in with their weaponry and they disrupt this harmony from source, the pattern is then broken away. It's now broken away, and it's not in harmony. So all of these energies that people are experiencing are being taken advantage of because they are not locked in to the harmony or the source pattern of all. The Lyrin Wars is about disrupting our desire, need, and want to become harmonious with source patterns. So they deliberately lead us in directions using technology using their technology and these energies to
plug our source energy into another facet. It's very much like bypass surgery. So we don't even know that our source energy is going to their Borg, ultimately their AI dragon. It's about us not even knowing, and this is why they use the term asleep. We're asleep because we have no idea that our energy is being redirected.
Redirected and hijacked. It's like there's truths everywhere that we look, and then the truths get hijacked and distorted, and it's all kind of like right there in front of our face the whole time. And so to recap what's being said there, just to clarify a little bit, and we were looking at this figurine, I don't know, maybe about half a dozen videos ago, because this is an actual statue, an old statue. And it's pretty clear that this is representing a reptilian being that's wearing some sort of clothing. I mean, how clear is that? And again, this is an ancient statue. So really what's going on when we look at this greater plan going on for the plague upon the land, all this that's tied in with it, there's many layers to it. Some will look straight to those guide stones that are in the state of Georgia and say, well, they only need so many people on this planet to run it for them. Again, refer back to those Anunnaki stories that view us as a slave race. And what does a slave race do? Well, it tends the garden, right? Hey, we were put in the garden to tend the garden. We're gardeners. And you could equate that to working in the mines and harvesting all the natural resources of the planet. That's just a part of it. Again, the wars that are created create a ton of negative energy that we call loosh. And loosh is a food source for certain entities on fourth density, the ones that we call the jinn, or we might call them demons. They do kind of look like the ring wraiths of Lord of the Rings, trilogy. They do have a look like that, and I've seen numerous of them with my own eyes. Have had face-to-face encounters with them numerous times, and with other people having been plagued by them. My own son, when he was about 8, was having a series of nightmares. So he slept in the bedroom with us, and he came in. And he was sound asleep, and I sensed something, and I looked, and there was one of these things. It was just a black mass, like a black hole, and yet it did have kind of a shape to it, serpentine, but also, it sort of had energetic protrusions that you could take to be limbs, but it was very serpentine in nature with glowing red eyes. And it looked up at me and it hissed, and I swung at it and said, "Get the bleep out of here," and it immediately left with a hiss. And, that was just one time that I've seen them. I've seen them many times, and was actually part of a group back in South Carolina that most of the members were military. We did paranormal investigations, and my end of it was clearing places after. So I would go in and do a banishing ritual and get rid of the energies that were plaguing people in these places. And there I have encountered more of those beings. They're very, very real. So again, like when we're doing channeling and stuff, the question will come up, how do you know? Well, because I know. I mean, I've encountered these things all my life. And again, with Cindy and I, we have activated pineal glands, and our perceptive abilities can definitely read the energies. So it's clear as day. It's like coming up on a path, you turn a corner and you see a beautiful, cute little koala bear. Or you turn around the corner and all of a sudden there's a crocodile in front of you. It's pretty easy to tell which one's adorable and which one's not.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can feel those energies, and then you know what it feels like to see a fluffy white bunny, and you feel that. So it's all about perception and feeling and translation.
Yes, and just to go a little Star Wars, when Yoda's training Luke, he's not telling him, now analyze the situation. No, he's like, search your feelings. feel? What do you feel? Because when you feel, then you're also receiving information from your guides and others, that are here to help you. And you're also shifting your perception from this 3D body out into the energy body that's picking up information directly from whatever's out there. So your energy body is reading the energy body of the other entity, and it's just that simple. You're bypassing that left brain that can be conditioned to think in a certain pattern, a certain logical reasoning pattern, and to also get us to be blinded to what is so obvious right in front of us. What do you feel? And so to go back to the purpose, yes, they only need so many people. And yes, if you go back to the legend where Enlil is upset because there's too many humans, they're making too much noise, let's get the number down to a more manageable level. There could be some of that absolutely going on, as well as the creating loosh through negative experiences like warfare. Yes. And obviously you lose people to that pain and suffering of the disease and the terror of impending famine and things like that. Yeah, all that feeds these negative entities. But there's something else too, because really the most important thing to them is not about your vehicle even, because they know when you leave this physical vehicle, unless you ascend, you're going to be in 4D. You're going to be still, in most cases, not every case, I shouldn't even say most, but if we allow the fear to overtake us, and if we allow other things to overtake us, we'll still be within their reach. So it's not like they lost us just because we're out of the physical body. Not at all, because most people are going to come right back and do it again and still be in the same zone of control that they have. It's all about that source energy that's inside of you. Source, the real God, creator of everything that is, everything that could be, and everything that isn't. Maybe someday will, maybe someday won't. The source of all is within every single one of us. That's what they're really after. So in effect, they are after your soul, to make it, a little bit simpler and with words that we've been growing up with.
Very, very, very much so. I mean, that's their narrative. That's their thing. That's their specialization.
And again, you got to realize that they're very smart. They're very smart. The leadership that we have, number 46, Senior Poopy Pants, that's not who's running the show. These beings are incredibly intelligent. Some of these beings have mind power that will blow you away, that exceed what we see with even some geniuses like Einstein and Tesla. So, yeah, do you think that we could outthink them so easily? No, they've created so many traps. Even when you think you've escaped their matrix, no, you find you're still in another box. This is how intricately they have planned this.
But most just don't see it.
They can't see it, because they're also telling me that there's forms of witchcraft that have been used. If you see the commercials, and you and I see the commercials when it comes to prescription medicine for what it is, and they say this could cause seizures, it could cause, you could collapse, you could break out in a rash. All of these really horrible side effects, they're using a form of witchcraft, they're using a form of energetic manipulation. So when these programs go across the screen, people don't actually hear the side effects. They're numb to them. They hear them, but their bodies and systems do not respond because their patterns are interrupted.
So it's a form of sorcery or magic, you might say, because again, I personally don't like using the term witchcraft because it's, it can encompass a lot of different things, including some things that are benevolent, like, the use of herbs and things like that, and the goddess energy and being in touch with the earth.
They're saying when you use the word sorcery, you are using the source of all to make a pattern, to manipulate a item, a situation, a thing. And it can be manipulated in a good way. It can be manipulated in a bad way, depending on how you use this source energy. And they want people to know that about sorcery. It's not good, it's not bad, it's about what it's used for.
Mm-hmm.
And here again, when you look to, say, the Bible, and you have a prohibition, suffer not a witch to live. In other words, burn the witch. And you look at a prohibition on tarot. Oh gosh, you shouldn't do tarot, you shouldn't talk to spirits. Why? Who's really telling you that? Is it source? Is it the creator of this universe? Is it the source of everything? No, it's these guys on the screen right now. Because they don't want you escaping their paradigm. They don't want you all of a sudden able to contact other extraterrestrials, interdimensionals that will tell you, oh, by the way, you guys, you're kind of being controlled by a really negative group of entities that don't have your best interests. By the way, they control your media. They control all your papers, your TV. They control your medical system. They control your philosophy. They control your religions. They control your history book. They control everything. This is what we could learn, by basically contacting our spirit guides, contacting true angels, contacting other ETs and interdimensionals. That's why they don't want you to. So that fundamentalist mindset is a draconian mindset. And so you might recognize, again, what's going on, this leftist agenda. You might recognize the evils of communism or fascism, totalitarianism, but you're still actually giving them your power when it comes to the religious mindset in many cases. And or even by staying in their system of health management, so to speak.
I know that's probably one of the biggest things is when people go to receive medical attention, boy, it's not like anybody really ever gets healed, does it?
No, and there was somebody that was making a comment saying, you keep getting it wrong with Germany. And, this was not really a bad guy. Well, if your pineal gland's active and you could read energies, this is not a good person. And when Cindy looks to any of these pictures of this person, she sees a Draco right next to him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's like right behind him. He's manipulating using that energy. Now, at one point, was he always a bad guy? Probably not. He was a human being, but eventually these energies get heisted and they get used for some really bad stuff.
Absolutely. And why make all the analogies to World War II and NAZI Germany? Because it's happening again. And this is, again, why we need to be aware of it, because it's happening again.
Exactly, yeah. And so, again, we could work amazing things through our intention. You were getting before information about, we had talked about Hitler and we had talked about the Third Reich and being basically controlled by these draconian forces, and you were seeing a specific Draco, and I don't want you to channel that energy, I just want you to observe at a distance. You were describing it as a royal Draco, but it was black in color, and you were getting a name that had something to do with the sound?
There is a name. Normally I don't get names, but this is coming out of an Urk. I can't get the full name. I think it's out of my frequency range, but it does have that essence to it of a and this entity is most Draco, when I see them, they're of a green color. This one is solid black. His eyes are black piercing. He's very powerful, and when he uses his energy, he can move thousands and thousands and thousands of people at a time, when normally a normal Draco can probably puppet about 100 people at a time. This one he can move countries. I mean, his energy is that powerful.
If you look back at that one's history and interaction with the Earth, besides controlling Hitler, who else or what other peoples has it controlled, if it has, on Earth?
The only one that's coming through right now is Hitler, and those energies, how he did control the masses by channeling his energy directly through Hitler, through certain devices, and using manipulation of chemicals to make Hitler a more open energy source. So when he stepped up through the podium, he was actually under the influence of certain drugs that would open his energy patterns completely to this Black Draco. And this Black Draco's energy then moved through Hitler into all of these other people, these beings, which mesmerized them, took them over, and they were actually happy and proud, but they didn't know that they were being used. Their energy was being hijacked to control and make a rather large movement to pull people away from the harmony of source and bypass their energy into the Borg, or even send it to the Black Dragon.
So when you look at the other leadership, let's say, look at the highest echelon of leadership of the allies that were fighting against the Axis. So United States, UK, France, and others, Canada, Australia. When you look at the ultimate power that's behind them and those forces, how does it differ comparing that to the Black Draco that you see with Hitler?
The energies do differ in the sense where I can see a white one. I also see a red one, and their modalities are different. Their essence is different. Their energy behind them actually feels, I gotta say, it doesn't feel as dark as this Black Draco. It feels different. It still feels controlling and powerful, but the essence of them, they don't feel the same as this dark black one. That's as best as I can give you. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So it's an interesting distinction. Ultimately, they're all working with drawing in source energy people for the AI Borg.
It's like, say, if you have siblings, and your siblings grew up in that same household, and you play these games. You play these games of pecking order. It's very much like this, to who can take the most control, and in what way, and what means do they use.
Okay, so if I could ask you to see what powers are controlling, say, Putin right now and his moves. Do you see any particular color, any draconian influence, or other?
The color of the Draco that's controlling Putin is red. He has black markings. His energy does not feel as like the black one. This red and black Draco character that controls Putin actually feels still very powerful, but with a lighter essence. If it's possible, I gotta say it's not as dark and evil.
Interesting. And so again, when we look to the Sumerian legends of Enlil and Enki, again, they're not in control of Nibiru anymore, and you do see that all the control structure that we have heard of is not really top of the food chain, not the most.
So I just wanted to intervene really quick while you're listening to that, just to go back. We get that thought line from Charles Darwin. And again, Darwin was a famous Freemason. Not that all Freemasons are bad. But again, when you look into his Darwinism and his version of evolution, it was survival of the fittest. And so it was basically dog eat dog. So you have to know that that is coming from above. That comes from the Gigi, Anunnaki, the Draco. It's the AI Borg collective. It's the dark side collective's view on things. Survival of the fittest, dog eat dog. So there's always competition between them. They're like hungry, snappy alligators that are ready to eat, and they'll eat the whole meal themselves if they're allowed to. They're not going to share. They don't work as a sympathetic collective that's loving, and they don't even really have the love towards their own brethren. Again, it's all a very, very dark, satanic type of energy that you see surrounding them. So again, it's survival of the fittest. It's dog eat dog. When we look back to Sumeria, and by the way, it was interesting that she was getting Uruk or Uruk because she doesn't really study this stuff. She doesn't recognize that Uruk or Erek is actually one of the city-states in Mesopotamia that was listed in the King's List, the Sumerian King's List. And it's just to the northwest of Ur. And Ur is where Abraham is supposed to come from, Ur of the Chaldees. And each one of these city-states had its own patron deity. There was one deity that was at the head of the list. They recognized other deities, but they each had their own patron deity. This is again why when you see them talking about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're talking about the patron deity of Ur, is who they're talking about. So it's interesting, these different beings all had their own territories, and you could look to Deuteronomy 32:8 and Deuteronomy 32:8, and most of these versions it's been rewritten, and you see when the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the children of men, he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Obviously that's not correct because Israel wasn't in existence then. That's obviously, and then when we look at the most ancient ones that we have, he set the boundary of the people according to the number of the sons of the gods. Or we could, translate it again to Elohim in the plural. So the sons of these powerful beings, they each got their own nations. They had their own nation states. They were at war with each other all the time. It's fun for them. For them, it's entertainment. It's like the UFC to them. To lead armies into battle to fight with each other is like waiting for Saturday night to see what the UFC card's going to be.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you explained that so well. It's like you get it. Once I can reach in, look at the information and send back what I see, you can bring it to life a little bit better so people can understand what we're really up against, what we're dealing with, and how important it is to understand that there's manipulative forces out there, and that's why we need to reach into ourselves and help each other find that loving being energy that is from source, and know that that is us. When it's about finding out who you are that loving source energy. And unfortunately, sometimes these things get manipulated, usually right around the Kali Yuga.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when Ha Elyon or El Elyon divided the Goyim, this is going into the Orthodox Jewish Bible. He separated the B'nai Adam. He set the borders of the people according to the numbers of B'nai Israel again. And then the next line basically talks about Yahweh's portion, and we could go back and jump into whatever, King James or something, and check it out. Let's see where to go. There we go. So when the Most High divided the inheritance to the nations, and when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the children of Israel for the Lord's portion. Now there's that generic Lord's portion. Yahweh's portion is his people. So that means there's other people. There's also stated that ye shall not have any other alien gods. It's right there in the Bible. Any other alien gods. You should not have any other alien, because you're my people, my city-state that, was agreed to be given to me. So you're my plaything. You're my toy. You're my group of slaves. This is what it's saying. And still people just don't understand. And we've also basically remote viewed Yahweh. And Yahweh is not a nice being. Not by any means. And, it's just as bad an indoctrination as any of the other indoctrinations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's why, again, you just got to keep going back and finding your truth and understand what you're made of. What are you made of? What are your abilities, capabilities, minus all of these institutions that have told us who we should be. We need to be, this is the time to find out who we are. It's about going within. It's about leading with your heart right now, because we're moving into times where that's going to become very, very important, that we be able to read our own hearts and get in touch with our guides and our own intuition in a way where it's going to help us and benefit us and other people moving forward.
So when the Pharisees and the Sadducees came up to Yeshua, and he said to them that your God is not my God, that's what he was saying. He was saying, you actually are serving Satan. You're serving the master of this world. And Yeshua also made statements as to the fact that him and the Father are one. He's referring to the source energy that's within all of us. So, again, he was just saying that source is within us. The greater things you're going to do than he did, how would that be possible if he's the only one that has that connection? Well, this is how, because that connection's in all of us. And so it's up to any of us to tap into it. But of course, if Satan, the adversary, rules the world, he's going to rewrite all the books to basically get you one way or another. As you keep realizing things and waking up, he's still got another trap set to control you. And this is going to be the trap all the way to when the Anunnaki come back. And when they come back, and people are going to take that as the second coming. And they're going to want to go on the ships. And, again, they're going to be basically trafficked as human slavery or worse.
Mm-hmm. And I watch what's happening right now, and there's a lot of appeasement going on to get people to not take action because they think things are going to change and things are going to be okay. So they just keep doing what they do, and they don't make any growth or any movement toward something that's going to make them more sovereign, because they think somebody else is truly going to fix it.
Mm-hmm. So when you say at night, thy will be done as it is in the heavens, you might as well be saying, the Anunnaki draconian will be done as it is up there in, Nibiru and other places.
Right.
Because that's how they've gotten you. You could basically clarify just by saying the source of all, or the true creator of this entire universe, just to make sure that you are, because there is a source of all, and there is a creator. Again, it's not done randomly, and we are eternal beings having a temporary human existence.
Most powerful beings in as far as controlling Nibiru.
No. The information that's been put out there is set out there in such a way to bring about a certain controlling energetic pattern where people believe that they are tapping into certain beings and certain essences, when in fact they're sending their energy to a much higher influence that they don't understand.
Yeah, so we've never really had the true power structure of Nibiru.
No, we've never have. We probably never will ever have that true power structure, because for it to be completely coming out into the light would break their spells that they cast upon us, for us to be in this place where we're disharmonious and we don't actually hear the things that are being broadcast across radios, TVs, cell phones, computers. We don't actually feel the disruption that they're trying to cause our human bodies.
So the Lyrin Wars are still ongoing, and the Pleiades was inhabited because of a refugee issue. Is this correct?
Yeah, the Lyrin Wars are still ongoing. I guess we have to look at the positive of everything, and because of these Lyrin Wars, it has brought out a lot of good beings have come together in what I call the Galactic Federation to help humanity grow and expand, and case by case separate from these controlling energies that are anchored, that have been anchored from the Lyrin War.
So is there a counterfeit Galactic Federation being prepared to be introduced to the masses?
Yeah, there's a counterfeit. They're actually being schooled in how to talk with humans, how to manipulate and control humans in such a way that most people are going to feel good about their being here and how they speak to us and how they control things. So they're actually being schooled right now on that.
You know, it was interesting too, because you brought up this past week a term that I hadn't ever heard of before, but you were calling some beings fallen Pleiadians.
They were. Unfortunately, it's where they have chosen to create their being and their essence. It's what gives them power and control. The fallen Pleiadians, it's where they feel actually, just like human beings, everybody has a certain personality, and they've stabilized themselves in this state where I consider it fallen, because they are working with some of the controllers that actually control us and keep us from evolving to our highest and best ability.
And I would venture to guess that some of these are the Nordic Pleiadians that were working with Hitler.
Yeah, they're still very much alive. They're still very much in the same place, but I guess it's a situation where they're comfortable being what they are, and I don't quite understand it, but that's what we have.
And so these will be rolled out, and I'm sure that we'll be introduced to them as this is your Galactic Federation, when in reality it's not. And I feel strongly that some sources of information that many people are very, very comfortable with are actually going to be part of that program.
It's ongoing. It's definitely ongoing. There's such a chaotic mix of energies. What they have never given us as human beings, or the controllers, they never give us our free will, and they never say, okay, here, go out and explore your world and learn and be that little fractal of source that has its very own unique experiences. One of the things that they do constantly is they put information out there, so people are then spoon-fed, and they're feeling like they are educated. Now they know how certain things are supposed to go, and my healing modalities are supposed to be done this way, and I have to do that way. They're very good about controlling the narrative.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anything that the guides or any of the Galactics want to share with us for this message?
Right now, the Galactics want to have people understand that they know it's a very chaotic time. Our energies are deliberately being put in a chaotic state. So our source connection is not harmonious, but we need to keep working on finding that harmony. We need to keep connecting with the earth, the source energy herself. The more we connect with that source energy pattern, the more we are going to heal and be fulfilled. And actually, the stronger our energy bodies are going to be, the stronger our patterns are going to be, and they're going to be more connected in with the true source of all.
Beautiful. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
So again, reconnecting to the earth, reconnecting to the divine feminine in its many manifestations is one of the safest things we can do, because the earth is going to ascend and is ascending. And so she can nourish the body as well as the spirit and help to anchor us and ground us in these times. So again, not all these beings are the same, and I'll see channels that will just call everything an Anunnaki god, and that's part of the program. That's part of why they're doing what they do. And if you do see channels that apparently are not getting censored at all and they're talking about these things, they're part of the program, because they will censor the ones that are truly given unbiased information that is not part of their program.
Mm-hmm. It's about, if you are exploring things on your own and going out on a limb and looking past the education system, that information really seems to get pushed down, pushed back. Other people might find their ego getting involved because it's not what they learned, it's not what they heard, it's not what they read, and that's okay. I mean, we should be able to talk to each other. We should be able to say, well, what about this and what about that? We are free sovereign beings here to explore, feel each other, help each other, bring understanding. Most of all, I think we just need to come together and understand that things are not as they seem. They're just not. And realize that moving forward with all the things that we do and say, and get in touch with our guides, get in touch with that source energy, understand that we are free sovereign beings, and we should be like little children exploring and having our guides and our angels kind of look at us in awe and wonder, just like a parent looks at their child when they're having a good time, or they, trip and fall, or they get a boo-boo. It's all about that loving adoration during this time.
When you connect to these beings that are truly of the light, it's just an overwhelming feeling of love. The compassion comes right through. It's just so obvious. It's beyond obvious. It's just an experience, but you have to have that direct experience to know it. That's part of the quote-unquote gnosis. And gnosis is not left-brained. It's, again, feeling. It's all about developing the feelings, developing the pineal gland and the ability to perceive things that are beyond the visible light spectrum. So when we're encountering these devas, the love is overwhelming, and many times you end up crying, because it's just so, or you're in this state of bliss because it just feels so happy and so peaceful.
Mm-hmm. And I must say, the closest feeling that I could give to help someone understand what it's like to encounter these beings is you're just lovingly adoring a child. You're adoring, little kittens, furry pets, this loving adoration, this feeling of joy, very high vibrational feeling. That's what comes through. That's what you can expect.
Yeah, and again, what would be one of the most powerful things you could do to protect yourself and make sure you're staying on the higher vibes? Mantras. The Sanskrit mantras are so powerful, and they're a connection to these beings that start on the fifth density and go higher. These are amazing beings, truly of light, that are so loving. And the mantras, whenever we get into trouble, we're doing mantras. Whenever there's bad storms coming in or tornadoes spotted, immediately start doing mantras. Whenever we can sense really, really dark energies, we grab the sage, we start saging the room, and we're doing mantras. And they come every time, and they clear it for us. They clear it with us. And their energy is palpable. And these are benevolent beings from all traditions. Again, it's not just one tradition, because the notion that Yeshua would be in some sort of competition with a Lakshmi, a Ganesha, or with an Aset, Isis, or a Kuan Yin, that's just so misguided. It's almost laughable. Truly, it's sad at the same time, because these guys are all on the same team. Absolutely.
And when you think about mantras and the Sanskrit mantras, you understand that the chakras are in different places on the body, and they hold a certain form. They hold a certain vibrational energy that it matches that of source. So as you are saying these mantras, repatterning your energies, you're actually patterning it into the source energy, and this strengthens your bond with the source, with the all. So this is a place where we have found it to be very, very safe, brings us a lot of understanding, a lot of joy, a lot of peace, opens our hearts. And like Mike says, if something is not going quite right, boy, yeah, we're doing mantras. It's come through for us time after time. It's something that's been tried and true for us over and over. And it just, I guess it makes me sad that so many people are afraid of them because of certain dogmas. Don't be afraid of them. Cover yourself in the mother energy. That is one of the safest things you could ever do, is just calling that mother energy to bring you peace, love, joy, happiness, and contentment.
And so this one, just to let you know, like when we feel that's, very strong dark forces attacking us, this is one that we'll do. I'll do this one. We both have done this one many times in the past. And so this one invokes, it invokes the Durga power. And Durga is a combination of many goddesses' energies come together, basically, according to the mythology, to fight a couple of demons that were just walloping everything around, and nothing could stop them. So all the goddesses became one goddess, and that one goddess, the Durga, gave birth to Chamunda and then Kali. And so, not to go over it all, but basically the combination of the Divine Mother's energies. Just think again how fierce a mother bear could be if somebody's near one of her cubs, especially if somebody's hurting her cubs. This is again the same thing with the Divine Mother. She loves her children, absolutely, and she will protect her children, and we are her children. So doing this mantra could definitely give you protection against dark forces.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and bring you that warmth and loving feeling too.
Yep. So definitely subscribe to both channels if you find this interesting and want to keep moving forward with us. Thank you for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi. We couldn't do it without your support over there. Do check out Medicinal Foods. Use coupon code EEA and get a discount. Great stuff for detoxing. There's a link on the top of every video. Much love. God bless. Namaste.
Namaste.